21st Century Entrepreneurship with Martin Piskarik.
Hi, my name is Scott Kelly. I am the founder and CEO of Black Dog Venture Partners. I've been in the startup venture capital game for 35 years. Worked on the New York Stock Exchange, raised and exited 3 of my own companies during the dot-com boom of the 90s. And now I have a network of 13,000 investors that I help entrepreneurs raise capital, scale, and exit their business. Since I founded the company in 2006, we've raised $5 billion for these startups, helped 30 of them exit, and have made millions of dollars for them in additional revenue and business development services that we provide. Some of the biggest challenges that entrepreneurs have in raising capital come down to a couple things. One, having the right investors to connect with and enough of them to reach out to. And then 2, being properly prepared to pitch investors. You know, the idea behind building a network of investors isn't just connecting with somebody on LinkedIn and then putting your pitch deck in their DM. It's about building a large network of investors that you have relationships with. And these investors have to be vetted by you as much as they're going to vet yourself. You have to make sure you're investing in your time building a network of investors that invest in your industry and invest in your stage of company. It doesn't make sense to go to a late stage venture capitalist if you're a pre-revenue startup. And it doesn't make sense to go to an investor in biotech if you're a software company. So you have to build a large network. I recommend a minimum of 100 to 200 people that fit that criteria. And then you need to spend some time developing the relationship with them. And what that means is you need to connect with them. Don't ask for money right away. Maybe ask for advice. Follow them on LinkedIn. Comment, engage them on social media. Go to their events before you pitch to them. Build those relationships over a long period of time. And then once you've done that, then you need to prepare yourself to go to these investors. One of the primary things that most investors ask for is a pitch deck, which is basically roughly 12 to 15 slides that tell an investor why they should invest in your startup. And there's a couple of key questions you have to answer. One, you have to tell them that you have a big problem worth solving for a lot of people. It has to be a scalable problem. And then you have to give them a solution that's better in some way. Is it faster? Is it cheaper? Thirdly, you need to understand your market and how you're going to reach those customers and who your customers are and how you're going to reach them. You also have to demonstrate that you have a team that's capable of executing. You know, a lot of startups start with one founder, but you might be good at technology, but maybe you're not good at sales or accounting or legal or some other aspect of the business. You need to build a team because investors need to know that you have the ability to execute on your idea. Once you have those things, you really have to understand a couple other things from an investor standpoint. You have to understand who your competition is and what your advantage of them is, over them is. You know, the problem is a lot of entrepreneurs will say that they don't have competition. I tell all of them, the pencil is still competition to the computer. Everybody has some form of competition, and you have to know that. And then you also need to communicate with investors the end. Investors want to know that not only are they going to put their money in, but how they're going to get their money out and get a return on the money. So you have to have a clear line of how you're going to exit your business and who your potential acquirers are or your exit opportunities are. And then lastly, you have to know how you're going to spend the money that they're going to invest. You have to know a couple of things. One, how much money you need and what you're going to use that for, and try to be as specific as possible. Do your homework on what you need for sales, marketing, accounting, legal, and other things. And then you have to have a timeline of when you're going to reach some of those milestones. Because if you have all those things together, that gets you through the first meeting, which is the good news, but also the challenging news. After that, you have to go through due diligence. And that means they want to see your deal room. They want to see the resumes of all the principals involved. They want to see your marketing plan. They want to see your financials, current and pro forma. They want to know what's on your cap table. Who are the other investors in your company? The investors need to know all that information before they can make an informed decision. And so once you get to that point, then you come up with one or two answers from an investor, either yes or no. Yes is obviously good news. No means maybe not yet or not enough information. So even after you get a no from somebody, ask them, can I continue to keep you updated on our progress? This is the one thing that most entrepreneurs fail to do. Update them on your traction. Now, traction ideally is going to be sales and revenue and profits, but traction could mean a new partnership or a new distribution agreement, building a network of people that are potential acquirers of your product or service. So those are the three things you need to do. Before you go out and fundraise, you need to make sure you have a good list of qualified investors, because you're going to get a lot of those. Secondly, you have to be properly prepared with a pitch deck that convinces investors to get a second call, a second meeting, have your proper due diligence, and then have a plan to continue to update them and give them traction. So those are the key facets of how to find, pitch, and follow up with investors. Entrepreneurs learn two things. One, running your startup is a full-time job, and raising capital is a full-time job. And to the extent that you do one, the other can suffer. So what I've done is we've built a network and a system to get investors in front of the right entrepreneurs and prepare entrepreneurs to be able to pitch effectively to these investors, raise the capital, scale their business, and then provide proper follow-up. And we do that through a number of things. One, we do one-on-one consulting. We will schedule calls with investors directly. We host our VC Fast Pitch events. We've hosted 60 events over the last 15 years, raising over $120 million for entrepreneurs. We host them both online and in person at venues around the country. So we'll prepare you for a 5-minute pitch, a 20-minute pitch, and even a 30-minute pitch to entrepreneurs. So again, you can decide to do this yourself, and I think you can be very successful. But in some cases, you might want to find that running your business is what you're good at, and bring us in because we're very good at helping entrepreneurs get in front of investors and raise capital. The reason why we've been successful and we work well with entrepreneurs is, as I mentioned before, you have to build these relationships. I've been building these relationships for 30 years. I have investors I've done deals with. The 13,000 investors I have in my network, every single one of them, I've done a transaction with them in my career. So I know them. I know how to, I can figure out and help you put you in front of the investors that invest in your industry and invest in your stage. One of the most difficult things for an entrepreneur to do is get that first call with the investor. I can get that first call with the investor. And then my job is to coach you and train you that by the time you get that first call, you know what they need to hear, you know how they want to be pitched, and you know how to be more successful when you present to them. One of my favorite stories to talk about was a company. There was two founders. They came and pitched at my event. They actually, at the time, they pitched for 1 minute on stage in front of 30 investors. These entrepreneurs, during the lunch break of the pitch event, sat down with an investor from Silicon Valley. That investor invited them to lunch. 2 weeks later, wrote them a check for $270,000 at that lunch. 2 years later, they helped raise that same investor helped raise a $3 million round. 3 years after that, that company that pitched for 1 minute sold their company for 9 figures. And now that company is one of the most well-established venture capital funds in the country, called Space Station Investments out of Utah. So they went from pitching their startup, pre-revenue startup for 1 minute, raising all the money they needed, exiting their business, and now they're a venture capital firm making investments in startups. Typically the ideal client for us is an entrepreneur that has grit and has built really good technology or really good product. We work a lot with software, hardware, cybersecurity, but we do a lot of work with health tech and consumer product companies. So if you're an entrepreneur in that space and you have some grit and you're willing to grind, I can help you do the rest. We typically work with companies that are pre-revenue all the way up to roughly Series A. And through that, we make sure that you might not be ready for a venture capital firm, but we have a network of angel investors and high net worth accredited and strategic investors that can invest. So our job is to match you with the ideal investor that invests in your industry, invests in your stage, and especially for early stage companies, we want to help you find strategic investors that provide more than just capital. They provide access to clients, potential partners, or future investors. So our job is to work with your company to get you ready to get in front of the right investor. I think one of the key attributes of being an entrepreneur is the ability to do a couple of things. One, act with confidence but humility. Two, understand that you're going to work hard. This is not a 9-to-5, 40-hour-a-week job. You'll be working the weekends. You'll be working the evening. You're going to have to constantly change and pivot your business. And now, when you're pitching to investors, understand one thing. You have to have a hard skin. You could hear literally hundreds of no's. And so you have to be willing to get kicked and get back up and do it again every single day. Those are the kind of entrepreneurs that are successful. Because understand one thing, 90% of people that start a business go out of business. And when you're talking venture capital, 75% of companies that raise venture capital go out of business. So a couple things you really have to understand. First of all, do you need to raise money, or can you build the business on your own? I tell a lot of entrepreneurs the way to raise capital is go sell something. Sell something first. Build a business and a product that people are willing to buy, and then determine if you want to raise capital. Because understand one thing, not only do you get capital from an investor, you're going to get their opinion. And you got to be willing to handle taking those opinions because they give you your money. So the key steps here is one, you've got to work harder than everybody else. You've got to be willing to take a lot of no's and keep going. But then three, you really need to understand, is this a business that can build on your own, or do you need to raise capital? And then if you need to raise capital, be willing and able to take a lot of no's to get to yes. Well, obviously you can reach us on our website, Black Dog Venture Partners or VC Fast Pitch. But for everybody listening, if you send me an email to scott@blackdogvp and you put in the subject line startup tools, I'm going to give you a free link to all kinds of startup tools, how to build your pitch deck, how to build your company, how to build your relationships. We have an ongoing list of tools that we provide to entrepreneurs completely free. Again, Scott at Black Dog VP. Put startup tools in the subject line. You'll get them right away.
21st Century Entrepreneurship with Martin Piskarik.
Imagine a space where triumphs, trials, and tales of entrepreneurship come alive. Welcome to the 21st Century Entrepreneurship Podcast, a gold awarded journey hosted by Martin Piskarik, connecting with listeners in 95 countries and ranking in the top 0.5% of all podcasts. Join our exclusive community, elevate your perspective, and embark on the path to success.